Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Political Spotlight. I am your host, Christopher H. Bilbrey. This is episode 061. That is 061. 061 in the big house, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. Thank you for joining us, boys and girls. We've got a power-packed show for y'all tonight. I had originally had like 1, 2, 3, 4 things to talk about. But then I went to what was supposed to be a rather non-important, like pretty much set back, listen to some stuff type of a meeting at the Muncie City Council Public Works Committee, which like literally has only met once in the last 4 years. Supposed to go and listen to some stuff and talk and maybe say some smart aleck type stuff. Maybe get up there and do a little smirk and then sit down. And then I was going to come home, and it was going to be like near like 8 o'clock when I got home. I was going to have like an hour, and then we were going to come on, and I was going to do the things that we needed to do here. And it was going to be an easy show. Well, then I went to the Muncie City Council public meeting, and it was just insane. Hold on. So, tonight, ladies and gentlemen, just to give you a quick agenda, a quick rundown of the topics. Tonight's show, the big show, is going to be covering the following places and the following topics. Tonight's topics, the order that I have them in and what we're going to be talking about is as follows. Winchester, first and foremost, we're going to start out with a candidate interview with Niles Thornburg, Libertarian candidate running for Mayor of Winchester. Then we're going to go into some important breaking news from Winchester City Council. Councilor Leesa Friend, we have some breaking news reference. Councilor Friend-Teale, whichever one you want to call her. We have some breaking news reference Leesa Friend-Teale. Then we head down into Trojan land, and we stop down by the Newcastle Trojans. We're going to be dealing with some Newcastle Henry County news as I give my commentary on Clay Morgan, the Republican candidate for mayor, and his appearance on 93.1's Kendall and Casey this morning. It was a quick appearance, so we're going to listen to it, and I'm going to give you my thoughts on that. And ironically enough, it ties in to the same breaking news that we have about Winchester's City Councilor Leesa Friend. So I've got some interesting insights on both of those stories. Then we go to Muncie, and we're going to talk about breaking news out of Muncie. Muncie reference the Public Works Committee meeting discussing the Firehouse resolution tonight. And then we're going to end the show with Muncie Mayor Dan Ridenour being a flat-out liar. I've said it before. I'm going to say it again, and I'm going to by the end of the night, you're going to say one of two things. I just can't call him a liar because I'm too nice, so I'm not going to call him a liar. But I understand where you're coming from. I support him, and I will not call him a liar. Or, yes, he is a liar. Those are like your three options, because that's the only thing you're going to be able to do, because it's just flat out. So we're going to start here in just a few minutes with Niles Thornburg. But before we do, I just want to say this. Everybody, if you're like, oh, we're going to talk about, wait a minute, what are we going to be talking about out of Muncie tonight? Breaking news. Muncie referenced the Public Works Committee. Well, I didn't see a Public Works Committee meeting. Did you see a Public Works Committee meeting? And then quickly, everybody goes to the Muncie City Council or Muncie Facebook page, or even the City of Munis Facebook page, and everybody looks for a meeting. And guess what? There was no meeting. They had no meeting tonight that was live streamed for the public. They held a meeting, and we were there, and I was there, and I battled the council members that were there. Oh, we battled. We battled at the beginning, and we battled at the end, and it was not a pretty sight. I literally had to leave the meeting, drive my butt all the way back to my house to get my battery and my tripod, to then drive my butt back to the meeting to capture what I could, because the city councilor that was in charge of this, Rose Selvey, didn't do what she needed to do to make sure that the meeting live streamed for all of the citizens of Muncie to see, and I am pissed off about it. I am very mad about it. Rose Selvey does not deserve to win. We're going to get into all of that. Everybody, it's really, really bad. So we're going to talk about that later. But before we get into all of that craziness, we've got a lot of other show to do. And without further ado, we're going to be bringing Mr. Niles Thornburg to the show. Here we go. Niles?
You're on, dear.
Oh, I'm on.
Welcome.
Hey, what's up?
What's going on, bro?
Just another groovy day.
Yeah, you know it. So, what's happening with you? What's your shirt say? My people
Skills are just fine. My tolerance to idiots needs work.
I love it. I love it. So, you got a night off from the gun shop tonight?
Oh, I was there earlier today.
I knew you would be. That's hilarious. Good Lord. So, as everyone may or may not know, Niles is producer Kate's husband, and he works at the gun store in Winchester and Newcastle. And where's the new store at?
Greenville.
And Greenville. Okay, so so Trigger Outdoor Sports, taking care of all of your trigger and outdoor sports needs now in Winchester, Newcastle, and Greenville. So go by there and see them. Matter of fact, if you hit all three stores, I've heard it said that Niles is at all three stores. It's like the double slit experiment. Niles is at all three stores, and it's just whichever store you walk into, that's the one that he's actually at. So that's kind of an interesting thing. So, but besides that, you're also running for mayor of Winchester.
Yes, sir.
So what's the best location, Andrew Pop? The best location is Winchester, because you can go there when I know Niles will be there, and that's the best location. Well, what's your opinion? What's the best location? Maybe you have an opinion different than me. You work there.
I'm always going to say the store I'm at most of the time.
Okay, is that the Winchester store?
Yep.
Okay. All right, that's what I thought. I thought that you were in Winchester more than not, but I know they move you around quite a bit. Came out and said I did get to meet him at the Greenville store. See, and at the exact same moment, had you been in Winchester and not Greenville, you would have also been able to meet him there too. I don't. It's a weird. It's spooky actions at a distance. Okay, well, so you're running for mayor of Winchester.
Yep.
And how's that going for you?
It's going pretty good.
Right. What?
Oh, I just sit back and let my opponent campaign for me.
He's been doing a lot of that this year.
Oh,
so for the people that because it's amazing how many people I still get messaging me and say, libertarian, doesn't that mean liberal? Isn't that's Democrat, right? And I'm like, no, let everybody know what it means that you're a libertarian.
It's a libertarian's core values is maximum freedom all the time. They're more in line with the Constitution than any party, and that is the government doesn't have the right to infringe on you as an individual. That the Constitution was written to protect the people from the government and not the other way around. Which somewhere from the beginning to now we have lost sight of that, and they use our Constitution against us.
Yeah,
which is not how it was written by a bunch of guys who just fought a war to get away from a ruling class.
Yeah,
across the pond.
Yeah.
Now the ruling class is on the other side of the other side of the country.
Right. So, okay. So, I mean, just for some of maybe the slow learners out there, it doesn't mean that you hate police. It doesn't mean that you specifically, I mean, you were in the military, so you don't hate the military. It doesn't mean that you hate police, and it doesn't mean that you're not necessarily sovereign citizen material, but you're just like, let me be, I'll let you be. Honestly, I've always said for local elections, it makes most sense.
You have to have law and order.
Yeah.
But the Constitution is there to limit to the extent to which the government can come in. If you're doing something and you're not hurting anybody else, then why does the government care what you're doing?
Right.
They shouldn't. The only time something, where law enforcement stuff comes into play, that's when people are infringing on other people's rights or committing harm to another individual. Things like that. I'm a big proponent of downgrading victimless crimes. I mean,
yeah,
it's a way. It burns a lot of tax money for people that didn't do anything to anybody else.
Right. Yeah. So one of the things that I think that your challenger, Bob McCoy, does a horrible job at, and amazingly, it's something that I feel like a lot of current mayors do horrible jobs at doing. All of these mayors, it's really strange that all of these mayors are kind of older men, and they've all got a problem with ED, economic development issues. And one of those mayors that has a problem with that would be Bob McCoy. I don't know that there's been much development that's went on in in Winchester. Matter of fact, when I moved to Winchester in 2010, I actually decided I was going to get out of politics for a while after the whole craziness with what went on here with the prosecutor's election and all of that. In 2009, I decided that I was going to be done with it for a minute. And one of the things that when I got to Winchester that brought me back out of it was I loved Winchester. As a transplant to Winchester, I was like, man, I love this place. This is home. But I was really disgusted that, I was like, man, this is a really cool small town feel. But there are these things they could do better. But they're not doing anything. I hated, I could go to Kokomo and their town square was completely thriving. You go to Newcastle and Newcastle was pretty beat down, but they were rebuilding their town square. You go to Winchester and it's like the same old tired things that have been there. Nobody goes in there and shops, and it's just run down, beat down. There's no pride in the downtown. There's no new businesses coming in. There's no, thriving with that. And the economic development, nothing's happening, but you always say something. You ran for office before 4 years ago, and you said something then, and I've heard you say it since then about how you would approach economic development, and tell the people like what you think, how your approach to economic development would be different.
Well, economic development, number one, you wouldn't be tearing down houses with that money because you're not developing anything. And it's just if you're going to run for an office, you better be prepared to be a busy individual. I don't care if it's city council, whatever. You are saying, I want to fill this position and to the best of my ability, serve the people of the community in which I represent. That means getting on the internet and looking up grants and then following the example that every grant site gives you.
Right.
Fill it out and submit it, not paying somebody else to do it. That's what I hate. So government, the way is set up, is in a republic, you elect someone, that individual represents you, and that is your power. Is you put the people in positions through elections who make decisions, and your recourse is to remove them from office or vote them out. When governments, local and state, federal, when they start putting agencies in charge of doing things, there's no recourse because those are appointed people, not elected.
Yeah.
So, and I hate everything. Every time you added something to the equation, it costs money.
Sure.
The government does one thing well, and that's waste money, and that's at all levels.
Yes.
So doing the grants, creating the land bank, using federal dollars, state dollars, and not local dollars to revamp the city. Get rid of, yes, there are some houses that need to be demolished, but you can leave the foundations. That makes it easier to rebuild. And there are some houses that don't need to be torn down, but need to be rehabbed.
Yeah.
For every house that we tear down in this city, the price of housing goes up.
Absolutely.
All you're doing, supply and demand. If there is fewer homes than are required, you're raising the demand, and that raises the prices. So that the average income around here is like 35 or 40. I think it was 35 last I checked. If you're living on $35,000, you're not buying a $200,000 home.
Right.
But not only that, okay, she's like reminding me.
He's getting information
Not
from
only
his
that,
advisor there.
With the decline in housing, the increase in rent.
Right.
So now we had, and it's not just Winchester, it's all over the country. So now you pay more in rent than you would pay if you had bought a home. You can't afford to get a loan from a bank, but you're forced into paying twice as much to rent a property from somebody else. And it's a self-licking ice cream cone, and it's disgusting.
Yes.
So let's stop tearing down houses. Let's get into these programs that have been created to revitalize your city. Have low-cost housing for the people who need them most. This fanciful idea of building $300,000 homes off of a shitty country road right outside of town next to the golf course is not economic development.
Right.
I don't know too many people that would spend $300,000 to live on a crappy road next to a field to be on the golf course.
Right.
Maybe somebody who already lives here.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I get on a tangent. I'm sorry.
No. That's fine. No, that's fine because that's exactly right.
The edit money is $200,000 a year they use to tear shit down.
Yes.
$200,000. We can do a lot with $200,000. Economic development is, let's look at roads. When you try to bring in business, not just companies or factories, stores, you try to bring in, grow the city, one of the first things they look at is the roads. And we do a terrible job of maintaining what we have, let alone improving it. What they say is like $500,000 per mile to pave a road. Well, if you pave a mile-long road in Winchester, that's across the whole freaking town.
Right.
Right. So you got $200,000 of edit money we're just throwing away. I'm sure there's some, greasing of the skids there. Then we got another $250,000 in this TIF that has no loan against it, that they pay for investment tips, and I think it's that company that goes through their books and tells them they're doing a good job.
Yeah,
There's
right.
$450,000 we could pave one road end to end from the town, and the budget would stay exactly the way it is right now, minus a couple freeloaders.
Right. Well, and that's speaking to your point about that, about adding, that's something that Winchester does a lot of. They like to add positions to do things, like, for example, I was at a Winchester City Council meeting this year where they were talking about adding this guy, where the council was going to vote to allow this guy to have a say over where their economic development money went. So instead of Joe Blow citizen coming in and saying, hey, I've got a business right now that employs 2 people, and I would like to expand my business, and I would like to employ 3 more people, and I'd like to do this, and I'd like to add an upstairs, could I get $50,000 from you guys? Instead of the council and the local government who has the authority to deal with that and say yes or no, they now farm that out to a non-elected, non-appointed, just some Joe Blow. He's probably a nice guy, but he's now the one that's saying like yes or no on this, and then he tells the council. And so if there's some kind of nonsense that goes on here, the public can come back and they can be mad at the council for doing that. But at the end of the day, there's no accountability for that guy and the decisions that he makes, taking that out of the council, having the council, the Winchester City Council is an absolute joke. They do nothing. They don't have a grant writer, which, hell, if you're not,
you don't need a grant writer. That's the problem.
I'm just saying that. They don't have that. So then it's like, okay, we'll do it yourselves. Well, no one does it themselves. I mean, I don't know that any of them are smart enough to really do 2 + 2. So we probably couldn't have them doing it, but that's why we need more intelligent people in office doing these things, more people that give a damn, that just will go through the process of learning the step-by-step process that it takes to do what needs to be done.
There's a couple questions I've seen. One guy was asking about staying out of the way of the city council. I got one better for you. They're going to hate me because I'm going to make them do their job.
Right.
I'm not going to run the meetings. That's their job. They hold the purse strings. But when it comes to all these things that they do not do, I'll be right there to force them to do it. I know we're required by state law to have that Board of Public Works.
Yeah.
But we're not required by law to let them take votes and make decisions. Now, they can take votes as a recommendation, but that needs to go before the city council for a final decision-making process. I would also like to look at changing. Well, I'm getting off of economic development now.
You're fine. No. Go however you want. That's fine.
And then a lady was asking about the blight and in the land bank and those grants that go along with that kind of thing, it does have in there for rehabilitation of properties and providing low income housing. And when that occurs, the city is very bad about contracts. They just give things away with no expectation or no way to enforce anything. So when you do these homes like this, it's got to come with a contract. Like, you must live there for 10 years. That's just to prevent, somebody from coming in, having their buddy buy the house for them. They're a realtor. And then it turns right around. He sells it for $200,000. He got it for $15,000. That's putting things in place to prevent it from being misused. You're trying to make it go where it needs to go. Kind of like farm aid.
Yeah.
The little man never sees very little of that money.
Right.
But the corporate farms, they get a butt ton.
Oh, hell yeah. Absolutely.
That's what we don't want.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a really important question here, and I was going to get to it, but since they brought it up, we'll go ahead and ask it now. Any thoughts on what you would do with changing the council attorney, the city attorney, the mayor's attorney? Any thoughts? You don't plan on keeping Meeks, do you?
No. Would definitely be looking for an attorney that specializes in state and local law.
Yeah.
As to prevent any lawsuits. That's the other thing. These guys, they put people in that are yes men, are going along with all the craziness they're doing, and they get sued, and rightly so. It's like the the police chief. That dude should be all but slapping the mayor sometimes to prevent him from getting himself into trouble.
Yeah.
That's what he is, the chief law enforcement for the town. And, he needs to have the, what's the word? He needs to be comfortable with cutting the mayor off and preventing him from making an ass of himself.
Right. Yes. Yes.
He needs to be out of the position. That's I don't want people around me that agree with everything I say. I really like having ideas and butting heads. I've always butted heads with people, even that I worked with in the military. And we got a lot of things resolved that way. We might have started out, yelling at each other, but in the end, it all came out better because, it's two minds are better than one. And you got to be open to ideas. And that's the problem with this community is there's no openness to new ideas. That's the way it's always been. Well, our town hasn't always been like this.
Yeah, right.
This is a great place to live. I came back here to raise, my youngest children. And I know I've said it before, when we drove into town, my wife's not from Winchester. She's from around Cleveland. And, but we were here a few years before I went active duty. And, we drove into town. We hadn't been here for years because we'd been in Europe for quite a while. And, she's like, this is sad.
She was like, holy shit, this is where you're bringing us?
It was disheartening because, there were so many houses that were gorgeous when we were younger and just starting a family to today.
Holy shit's probably too mild. There were probably
right.
Well, it's just, when you come in, you go to these meetings and they look at you like you're an idiot.
Yep.
And they'll insult you. And they have, and it's not just local politics, it's state and federal too. They have people convinced that they're not smart enough to run for an office.
Yeah.
It was designed for exactly that. The average Joe Blow says, you know what? I think I could do some good. I'm going to run for office. They do a term or two, and then they go away and go back to what they were doing before. That's how this is supposed to run.
Yeah.
Not having lifetime politicians that have no idea about the real world. We don't need highly intelligent people. We definitely don't need lawyers running for office.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
The founding fathers didn't want lawyers in politics.
Right.
Well, we need people with common sense. What was it? Ralph Nader said, if you want to see Washington run right, fill it with blue collar workers.
Right.
So, that's it irks me. You give me a room full of people with common sense and this city in a year, you wouldn't recognize it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But in the process, you're going to piss off, we call them the beautiful people.
Yeah, the beautiful people.
Because they're not getting their revenue, from the city government anymore. Right. It's going to what things that it needs to go to.
Yeah, the things that's actually needed.
The city has certain things that it's supposed to do, that it is responsible for. That is safety of the citizens, infrastructure, everything else is just enforcement of code, but everything else is part of safety. But everything else is just add-on and is not necessary.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you're not performing your basic functions as an elected official, then you have failed. And that's why if this town was going just fine, I wouldn't even try, because I know that if I'm elected, the next 4 years are going to be hell, and what little hair I have growing on my head probably won't grow there anymore. Because it's going to be a pain in the ass.
Right.
And if you do your job properly, you're always at work. You're stressed out because you see what's coming and you're trying to mitigate it or make all these things happen. And you know, it stresses you out.
That's what kills me. That's what kills me. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking with Niles Thornburg. He is the Libertarian candidate running for mayor in Winchester. This is, for those of you who are just tuning in, this is the Political Spotlight. I'm your host, Christopher Bilbrey. We're talking to Niles. After Niles, we're going to be talking about some breaking news. We're going to be talking in Winchester. We're going to be talking about some things going on in Newcastle concerning the mayor down there, the mayor candidate on the Republican ticket down there, and his words on the radio today. We're going to be talking about some breaking news out of Muncie, and so we've got some places all over East Central Indiana to get to this evening. But right now we're talking with the Winchester Libertarian candidate running for mayor, Niles Thornburg. That's one of the things that bothers me, Niles, is that I know that Winchester is a little bit different than, say, Muncie. Obviously, there's a lot difference in size of city, in class distinction. Winchester's a third-class city. Muncie's a second-class city, so things are a little bit different. But one of the things that gets me is at least a good portion of the 9 city council members in Muncie. City council is a quote-unquote part-time job. But at least a good portion of the Muncie City Council members are doing something or doing several somethings with the city of Muncie daily. If not every day, every other day, several times a week, they're interacting, doing stuff all 24 hours a day, on taking phone calls, emails, doing things, and working on things. It seems like Winchester, the council members, since I've been there, since when I moved there and then I moved away in 2019, moved back to Muncie, but it seems like their service starts 15 minutes before the council meeting, and then when it's over, their service ends, and then for the whole another month, they're just John Q. nobody, and they don't call them, don't text them, don't see them, don't ask them anything. They don't know, they don't care, they don't want to know. And then they go pick up their council packet 10 minutes before the council meeting, and they're hearing it for the first time when everybody else is hearing it. And that's not how that's supposed to work. No.
So there's going along with that crap, you know.
Yes, Kitty.
So the freaking the crap that you're going to vote on before the meeting or during that meeting, that shit is published a week prior to everybody. Hell, you just create a City of Winchester Facebook page where you can ask your councilman and they will respond to you on that page. And then on that page, we can post everything so everybody can see it. So, you know, there's a 40-page document on the city site where you can go in and read everything, like not by name only, but you can read everything about what they're getting ready to pass. And then, because I hate it when you go in there and the city council, they're handing the packets right before the meeting and they're about to vote on this crap. No, they need to know word for word everything they're voting on and know exactly what's going to happen instead of just giving a rubber stamp because, you know, we're still in high school and this is a popular thing to do and fuck everybody else.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. That's the problem. It seems like for so many people, basically Winchester, and the thing that I always heard, well, first of all, I say the problem with Winchester is they had one mayor from 2 years before I was born until I was 30 years old. They had a mayor for 30 years in Winchester. And the problem that happens, and he might have been a good guy at one point, but the problem when something like that happens is no one starts to care anymore. After 4 years, after 6 years, after 8 years, after 12 years, they're like, oh, he's got it. Everything's going to be okay. We don't need it. He's got it. Jack's got it. And so that's the thing. And he's the gentleman that said that he wanted to turn Winchester, which was a thriving community, into a retirement community. And that's never the goal. I mean, I can see somebody saying that like in 1970 who was 60 years old in 1970, but that is not the way that you want to look at a community, because when you're saying, when you're a 67-year-old mayor in 1980 saying, I want to turn this into a retirement community, that means a graveyard community in the 90s and the 2000s.
Yep.
And
I can get onto that in a second. Going to, because I'm seeing a lot of questions about police and the council. So I think in Winchester, you might be good to get away with 2 officers on duty, the midnight shift. But I think if there's daylight, there should be at least 3 officers on duty and a standby. How do you get officers to come to Winchester? You give them the money they deserve, and then right now the way they have it set up, the mayor comes in, he can hire and fire all department heads. I got a few things I'm rolling around in my head, but that needs to be fixed because the good old boy system needs to die away. I've looked at even maybe. So the mayor, if there is a state law that says the mayor has that right and you can't take that away, getting the council involved to come up with ideas, possibly taking the police officers in a separate room and letting them do a vote, the old piece of paper, fold it up, throw it in the hat kind of thing. And because as a recommendation, who better to know who they want to work for or don't want to work for than the people who are directly impacted by that individual?
Right.
You create a good work environment for people and, they'll flock to you. If you create a hostile work environment, then they're going to flee. I mean, they're going to run for the hills. Nobody wants to come to work and hate it.
Sure.
Nobody wants to hate the person that's in charge of them.
And for the record, for the people out there that hear that think, oh my God, that's crazy. Like something like that would never work in Muncie. The difference between Muncie and Winchester is 100 guys. I mean, Muncie has 110 guys. Winchester has 10 guys. So you've got, that's the difference between there. And it's very much more interwoven, interconnected type of thing. Absolutely. Let me see here.
How do you pay them, Niles?
How do we pay them? So the first thing I'm doing if I'm elected mayor.
Oh yeah.
The first day I walk into office, I walk in with the independent third party to audit the city. Every piece of paper, every file is gone through with a fine-tooth comb. And whatever money has been wrongly spent or allocated, then we will reacquire that money back.
This is one of the biggest reasons you have pushback. This is one of the biggest reasons you don't win, because people are scared. People are scared of that. Yes, Winchester doesn't want that. Randolph County doesn't want that. I would say,
See, that's the problem. See, and I've been told, well, corruption's everywhere. And my response always is, I don't live everywhere. I live here. Yes. And if there's going to be a change, people need to start standing up.
Yes.
And taking accountability and making people do the right thing. It really, I can't even emphasize how bad it pisses me off when I see this shit going on. I got a lot of friends that no longer are above this earth defending this country. And I come back to a bunch of crooked pussies who never wore a uniform, who are taking money away from citizens who can't afford it.
Right.
I mean, hell, they've got a lucrative business with, reclaiming people's properties for back property taxes,
yes.
which is unconstitutional. And anybody would like to read the notes between the founding fathers, they thought we were going to be a lot smarter than we are. That whole pursuit of happiness, they felt was all encompassing to include property, because you can't be very happy if you don't own shit.
Right.
And then making money off of it.
Yeah.
They say you have to go through the course and everything, but it never says that the city actually has to take ownership of that property and pull those people out. So yeah, there's that. But so paying for the audit, I'm telling you, there's going to be a buttload of money coming back to the city or not going out anymore. The TIFs are gone. I don't care if that pisses the people off at the golf course. The TIFs are gone. California outlawed golf course, or TIFs, not golf course. They outlawed TIFs. The most corrupt state in the United States of America outlawed TIFs because it's too easily to corrupt.
Yeah.
And here we are in a super majority Republican state, and we are running freaking TIFs left and right.
Yes.
There is no oversight for that shit.
Yeah.
So, I mean, one TIF, no loan against it, is $250,000.
Yeah.
You can do a lot with $250,000. You can do a lot with salaries. Another thing I'd really like to do, I believe in keeping things local. Everybody gets first dibs if they're local. Because if you're paying people's tax money back into people who work in the county, to the companies that, where they reside, then it's just this big circle. The tax money goes out to the company, pays the employees that live in the city or the county, and then they get taxed on that money again. That's how it should work. No, you're not always going to get the best.
I don't want to interrupt you here real quick. I just don't want him to leave. I don't mean to interrupt you here, but Coach Peckinpah's asking, am I allowed to ask, is Thornburg related to Miles Thornburg, who wrestled for Muncie? Does that name sound familiar to you?
There's a lot of Thornburgs.
Most of your people's from Randolph County, right?
Yep. If they're farmers and they spell it B-U-R-G, we're probably related.
Yeah, it's okay. That's what I thought. All right, sorry about that. Go.
No, you're good.
Keep going.
Where was I going? What was I doing?
Sorry. You're on the TIF. The
oh yeah.
About cutting money.
Yeah. So the TIFs, that brings back in a lot of money to the general fund. And don't forget, we also put back about $1.3 million a year in the rainy day fund, which is awesome. The city should be able to sustain itself for, I would say, 5 years with nothing coming in. And I think we're about there now. So, if we're putting back $1.3 million a year, and now we're at 5 years, why don't we just put back that $300,000 and keep that $1 million in the general fund and do things that we're supposed to do? Not doing projects that are every year costly. So if you it's just like creating parks in Muncie. You're creating more expense because there's maintenance fees that come with that. So like I pave roads, you could pave 2 miles you could pave 2 roads end to end in Winchester every year and never use, and you're using money that nobody ever knows we have because we've never had it. It's always been stashed away.
Absolutely. Not to mention the fact that if Winchester doesn't start putting in for Winchester is completely asinine because they don't put in for the community crossings grant. Mm-hmm. We used to get it. Winchester used to get it the whole time. That's one thing Sean was good for. Sean wasn't good for much, but he was good for the community crossings grant. That we've never had a problem with that. And then all of a sudden Bob gets in and you don't get it for several years in a row. And it's ridiculous. Muncie's done the same thing. It's absolutely crazy. You've got to take advantage of those things when the state is willing to give you matching money like that. I mean, that's absolutely nuts.
Well, you look at that. So you get the matching money, and we put $1 million. We put $1.5 million up. The money we saved from the TIFs that are being wasted, and $1 million out of the 1.3 we put away every year.
Right.
So that's $1.5 million.
Double it.
The state gives us $1.5 million. We have $3 million. That's 6 roads into. Hell, you could pave half of Winchester.
Right. Right. I mean, Winchester's not that big. Real quick, we've got some people here. So TIF is basically, okay, if you imagine, this is the easiest way to think about it. If you've got like a square block in town and it's just got like a couple homes on it, you got one home on each of the four roads. And so that you have only so much property tax that's going to come off of that. Well, if a new business is going to build in that area, say it gets rezoned for commercial and they build a brand new business that increases the property tax, and you get this, normally that money would just come back in property to that area and it would just go into the general fund. If you create a TIF district where that area is, now that property tax money, it's going to be, it's less than, but it goes into the TIF, and now you can spend it differently and spend it on different things.
And it's not all of the property tax.
Yeah,
it's just the increase.
It's what was increased.
So if that business coming in, the property tax increase was $50,000 a year, that money would go to the TIF.
Yeah.
And what it's supposed to do is pay off the loan for the money they borrowed to bring the business in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, like the problem is the loans end or never existed, but the TIF still does.
Right.
So I mean,
well, yeah.
How the county hasn't got in trouble for this is. But I was saving for another day. I'm not worried about the county. I'm worried about the city right now. So that's why I hate them. It's because once it's in the TIF, there's no oversight.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
I really want to move the bank. I think what they use now, the headquarters is down in like Evansville or Terre Haute or something. I mean, we got Farmer State Bank right here. The headquarters is in Greenville,
right?
Close by. I'd like to move it there and support, keep the banking local. It's also easier to see what you're doing. I'd also like to know, that would be a good way to find out how many accounts there are in the city's name and if there are any ones that are not legit.
I tell you, that's absolutely. Yeah, I tell you, nothing is scarier, and it would be so easy to do that thing. If I'm telling you, if the people out there, if you have not watched, it used to be on Netflix. I don't know what it's on now. It's called All the Queen's Horses. You guys have watched it. If
yes.
you people out there in the YouTube world, Google All the Queen's Horses. It's the single largest fraud that has been perpetrated on the face of the earth when you consider like to size per capita, per income and everything that was going on. It's this little old lady that was like a clerk treasurer in some nowhereville in Illinois or Iowa. And
Illinois.
It was like a town of like 8,000 citizens, and she was still stealing millions and millions and millions over the course of 30 years. And so, yeah, you do something like that and you find out like, whoa, what's all this nonsense? That's very, very interesting.
Yes,
yeah.
That everything you hear in a small town, they heard it in that town. Oh, they would never do that. They come from a good family. They're good people. They go to church. You never know. But when you live in a community where everyone just assumes that you're on the up and up because your dad was a deacon in the church or was a really good mayor or a really good businessman or just a really good father.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that'll sneak up and bite you in the ass.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because no one expects it.
Yeah.
And I just want to clean things up. I'm a 4 and done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I don't know if I could do more than 4 because I'm going to be stressed out for 4 freaking years.
Right.
But when I'm done, there will be no fraud, waste, and abuse. The council will vote on paying their bills before they're due.
Yes.
And they will scrutinize them. And to answer one lady in here, nothing will be read by name only.
Yes.
It will be read out loud, word for word.
By title.
And there will be, people will have an opportunity to speak on it and give their opinions prior to the vote. This waiting till the end for people to voice their opinions is what's the point? They've already made the decision.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, right. That's literally the reason I tried to get Sean to push moving the public concerns to the beginning of the meeting. And I had pushback because people said, well, then what if you got to wait for a whole nother meeting to talk about something that happened? And I was like, well, then do public concerns at both the beginning and the end. But like I said, they just need to do it the way Muncie does it. Allow the ordinance to be read, and then allow people to come up and ask questions on that ordinance, and then move to the next, and then that ordinance, and move to the next, and then do public concerns at the end of that. That would be the easiest way. Before we get ready to roll out of here, I can't believe it's been an hour already. I want to ask you another question here. Let's give you like the final word. But I wanted you to be on here when we broke this initial news first about Leesa, because you guys have been a part of this as well. And I know that Josh is watching, and I know that there's a lot of people that are really caught up about this, and this is big. If you've watched any of at all of us talking about the Winchester City Council and Winchester corruption as a whole, if you've been a follower of Civic Duty, or you've watched me since I was walking around in my underwear at 318 South Meridian Street when I was in Winchester when I first started doing this, you know that one of the people that I've battled has been Leesa Friend-Teale. She was a city councilor for District 4. She's not dead or anything, so I'm not going there. Thank God she's still alive, I guess. But so what the big issue here lately has been is she moved to Boot Stank, Montana, or something like that, back in March, and she literally she's blown off the citizens' taxation without representation. I mean, you want to talk about it. I put that even in the paperwork. Taxation without representation. You want to talk about being taxed and not having representation. Talk about Leesa Friend. Listen, since the beginning of this year, the city council has met 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. It's met 14 times since the beginning of this year. And since in that 14 times, District 4 City Councilor Leesa Friend has been to exactly 1, 2, 3, 4 of those meetings. Those first 3 meetings she attended was January 3rd, January 16th, and March 6th. And since March 6th, she has not attended. She did not attend a meeting on March 20th, April 3rd, April 17th, May 15th, June 19th, July 17th, August 21st, September 18th, October 2nd, and then voila, she just appeared out of nowhere here on the 16th of October because it's election time. She is on the ballot for this November, but she moved. She moved to Cut Bank, Montana, and on March 29th, the Cut Bank Pioneer Press ran a newspaper article that said, moving from one town to another, Leesa Friend, and she ran this great big article about this girl moving out west. And she literally has been stealing the taxpayer money, not representing the taxpayers, not voting on issues, not answering phone calls, not answering emails, not talking to her fellow council members. And so I'm going to let you guys say it. I don't know if Kate wants to get into the picture. You guys want to say, if you guys want to break the news, what happened?
We got a little help from a little friend of ours.
Oh.
And we went up to the county courthouse today.
Oh.
And we filed a lawsuit.
No way.
Naming Leesa Friend, Mindy Peed,
and Ben Wells.
No way.
For allowing a candidate to be on the ballot who does not meet the resident qualifications of a candidate. And we sued for injunctive relief to have Leesa removed from the ballot.
So it's not like you're suing her to make,
I'm suing her for $1 million.
Millions of dollars and millions
No,
of money.
I just want her to not be on the piece of paper.
Yeah, right. It's just like leave the people alone. Go have your wonderful life
And let us have a representative that we elect.
And the thing that really gets
Go ahead.
that whole things, it really pisses me off. And you talk about subversion of the Constitution.
Yeah.
You see, this is, and then because the council knows about it, they've been talking about it. So you know that the Randolph County chair knows about it.
Yep.
They've got the same thing going on in Union City right now with the guy who doesn't live in the district running for city council. He doesn't live in the correct district.
Oh,
Now I'll
so
keep
gross.
it under the rug until they're elected.
It is
And
so
that's what they were
gross.
trying to do with Leesa Friend. We'll just let it ride until after the election. She gets elected, then we can have her resign, and we'll appoint a good Republican, because they're supposed to be Christian conservatives. They're supposed to be constitutionalist, and I mean that's right there is just some dirty ass liberal bullshit.
Yeah.
And that's what people talk about parties. I run as a libertarian because the Libertarian Party aligns closest with me in my beliefs, but it's a party. I'm an American. I'm not a libertarian or a Republican or Democrat. I'm an American. And if the party ever goes in a direction that I don't like, then I'll walk away.
Yeah, right. Sure.
Because I'm an American.
Yeah, right.
This whole allegiance, this is the new religion. It's not, are you Catholic or Protestant? It's, are you Democrat or Republican? And they'll vote. I mean, there is no person in this country who could look at our current president and say, you know what, that guy's got his shit together.
Yeah, right.
He doesn't even know where he's at. I think the Australian news media had the best saying when they said they called it senior citizen abuse.
Yes. Yeah, it's not good.
Loyalty to the death to a party. If we had that kind of loyalty to our Constitution and our country, we would not be in the mess we're in right now.
That's absolutely.
But they're going to pull a straight party ticket because we're still one of the few states left in the country where you can vote for one party and one party only.
Right.
By pushing a single button. Tell me that's not subversion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the thing that makes me really sick, it's J.D. Prescott was doing that thing, trying to get the school districts being partisan, because he said he could tell by looking at the R or the D next to someone's name, their moral character and how fiscally responsible they were.
Yeah.
Well, if he's implying that the Republicans are the party of moral character, why the hell are they not doing the right thing and taking her off the ballot when she doesn't?
Well, I'm going to tell you, and it was what got us talking about doing this, because we've all, Josh, and there's a lot of people been involved with this, Josh and Joan and Lydia and Bridget and you guys and Coy and just a lot of people have been involved in talking. Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, people who just don't give a shit. We've all been talking. People who live in Winchester, people who don't live in Winchester, have been talking about how gross this is, what Leesa is doing. And we talked about, well, should we let her go and then fight it? Should we file a suit before? Should we file a suit after? We talked about the different things, but then I heard from a source last week that the Republicans are literally sitting around holding their breath, hoping that nobody made a stink one way or another because they did not want a legal fight. Well,
too late.
They got a legal fight. There you go. Wish granted. It has already been set for hearing on November 2nd. The law says that it has to be heard within 10 days, which 10 days would have made November 6th. There has to be a ruling, but it's been set for a hearing on November 2nd. If she gets removed from the ballot on November 2nd, they have to, in order to hold a caucus, they would have to hold 48 hours notice. So if she would happen to get, if the court would rule in our favor, which I don't know how in the hell they wouldn't, on November 2nd, they could then call one. Man, they would have to caucus. I don't think they can caucus. I don't know how they're going to do this. I don't honestly. This is going to be a very bizarre I can't wait to see how
Well,
this unfolds, politically speaking.
I can tell you the smart thing would do is just leave it alone and have no candidate.
Yeah, I'd be fine.
Because you're already nailed. You've got the city clerk, the Republican county chair, and a district councilwoman who are all being charged with fraud.
Well, in civil court.
In civil court, yeah.
Well, sure.
So you've already tried to subvert the system by doing shady shit, and then at the end you got caught. You're like, oh, wait a minute, we can hurry up and get somebody else on there so we can try and maintain the seat. I think you just need to leave that one alone.
Yeah. Louis, I think Louis also was, I think he was there the day that, I think he watched Guns N' Roses pin Welcome to the Jungle. And I don't know. I'll believe it when I see it. Where is Louis? What's he doing? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if that happens. We'll know. Well, I mean, that'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see if that happens. If Arnett recuses himself, I don't know.
I don't know why he would.
Yeah,
Just out of favor to Ben Wells, I guess. But I wouldn't think that he would have. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what he does with that.
I just want to see what happens with the case and how far it goes beyond.
Oh yeah. If no one runs on the Republican seat, then either Lydia Carpenter, one of our candidates, or Joan Ashley, one of our candidates, wins. There's three people running for that seat. The Republican, which we do not like, and who has been stealing from the citizens of Winchester, more or less, taxation without representation. The Republican incumbent is Leesa Friend. She's the one that's in the doghouse. And then there's a Democrat running, Joan Ashley, which is a killer person. She's, she's amazing. And then Lydia Carpenter, who is an amazing person as well. She's running as a libertarian. So there's a libertarian running, there's a Democrat running, and there's a Republican running. So if they poll the Republican out, then it is what it is.
Yeah, and it amazes me, and I'm ready for this because people are going to be upset, not that they broke the law, but that they got called out on it.
Absolutely,
And, it boggles my mind, people's thought process or lack thereof. They're not worried about what people did wrong. It's just that somebody had the audacity to call them out on it. So that that'll be floating around. But
yes, City
whatever.
We're getting ready to switch on. But
and there's one more thing I want to say, Chris, because I've been thinking about it a lot lately. You go into the meetings, and this is another thing. I could write a book on what pisses me off about politics. You go to these meetings, and they definitely take care of their own.
Oh, absolutely.
And when you go before an elected board with an issue or a request, it should be unbiased. It has to be unbiased.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you are not doing your job. There's a couple examples with some business people in town where they were promised something and then taken away because they said they were difficult. They could be the biggest asshole in the world, but they came to you with a concern and a need. And as an elected official who represents the city, you have an obligation to give everyone the same treatment and, in an outcome that is based on the merits of their request and not of their, likability.
Oh,
yeah.
There you go. Dark Dan likes your beard. The election is won.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, that is absolutely. There's like literally nothing else that can be said at that point. That is absolutely the best way to. Yeah, I don't even know. Dark Dan likes it. That is it.
Hell yeah.
That's amazing.
You get an endorsement, Dark Dan?
Yeah, does Dark Dan from Muncie endorse the bearded wonder from Winchester? Niles, so you guys are just going to be putting out the rest of your signs and letting Bob continue to campaign against himself for you?
Pretty much, and spreading freedom, one freedom stick at a time. We also sell freedom seeds. That's my Facebook get around.
Yes, I love it. I love it. Well, very good. As always, I mean, you're always welcome here anytime you want to come on. We'll definitely be following the election. I'll be over and around and in and out all day that day, all over everywhere. So I definitely wish all of you luck. We're going to be talking to the other libertarian candidates and a lot of other candidates this week still. So absolutely great. You can come on anytime else you want throughout the rest of the election, anytime you want. So it's, you're here anytime. So very good. I appreciate it.
All right, man. Hey, thanks for having me on. If anybody needs a sign, they can message me and I'll accommodate you. And I would appreciate your vote come election day. I said, I'm going to ruffle some feathers. I'm going to, it's going to be painful for people who've been in charge and are still in charge. But it's the right thing to do, and I'm not there. I'm not running to make friends. I'm there to do the job. And if I piss some people off along the way, well, then I piss some people off. But at the end of the 4 years, I'm going to go back to doing what I love to do, and that's firearms. And the city will be in a better place. And it's up. What Ben Franklin say when he was asked, what kind of government do we have? And he said, "A republic, ma'am, if you can keep it."
If you can keep it.
I'll do everything I can to get the city as straight as it can possibly be. And then it's up to the city to ensure that they elect people that keep it that way.
It's up to whoever comes next to be able to keep it that way. Mm-hmm. Well, I appreciate it as always. And we will see what goes on.
All righty, sir. You have a good one.
Thank you. You too, buddy.
All right.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Mr. Niles Thornburg. The bearded wonder. I love Niles and Kate. They're very, very good friends of mine. I love to get Niles on. He gets, Niles is like a man of few words, but like when you get to cranking and you get it going, he really gets going, and then he can just talk. And I love it. I think it's amazing. Definitely like to sit around and talk to him. Just one-on-one and just listen to just shoot the shit. It's amazing. So I think that's fantastic. If anybody knows anybody in Winchester, you can vote Republican again if you want. You can go in and press the tired Republican straight party ticket and continue seeing what it gets you. Or you can say, you know what? To hell with it. This one time, I'm going to go in and I'm going to vote for a Democrat in this race. I'm going to vote for a Republican here. I'm going to vote for a Libertarian here and another Libertarian here. That's what you ought to go do and see if you can't make a difference, because Winchester is definitely in a bad way with needing a difference. So that was Mr. Thornburg from Kelt. Oh, yes. And timing issues, says Kate. Tell him I said thanks for his service. Obviously, that's very, very, very big. We didn't talk about that a whole lot. We've talked about that a lot with Niles in the past. Niles is a lifetime military veteran. He wasn't like, and I'm not that there's anything wrong with people who go in and do a year or do 3 years or do 4 years or 6 years. Service to your country is service to your country. But Niles was like a lifer. He was there for 20 some years. And so, yeah, that's definitely.
And he wasn't a pogey boy. He was infantry, boots on the ground with the gun, leading the charge.
Right. Absolutely.
And the thing I'm most proud of, he brought all his boys home.
Yep. People came back.
Combat, he brought all his boys home.
Yeah.
Makes me more proud than anything else I can think of.
Yeah. I met Niles putting in a garage door. Glad to have him because it was shit show before he got there. Clinton is not a bot, ladies and gentlemen. Clinton is a real human. I have seen from a very, very own eyes. He is an actual human being. All right. So from Winchester and Niles Thornburg, we real quick, I just want to stay in Winchester just for a moment and let you all know this thing with Leesa is a pretty big deal. And we're going to kind of talk about this as we go into the Newcastle thing. I just want to read from this line here. Now, I only am a lawyer for my very bestest friends. I don't do much lawyering out in the real world anymore. But I wrote this thing up, and I'm going to tell you, I'm going to start charging a hell of a lot of money for all of my lawyering services. But we wrote this thing up here. Yours truly did that. Verified complaint for injunctive relief. Defendant Leesa Friend-Teale is currently a citizen of Cut Bank, Glacier County, state of Montana, and has been since approximately March 29, 2023. Prior to residing in Cut Bank, Montana, she had been a citizen of Winchester, Randolph County. During her time in Winchester, she had been appointed to fill a seat as the District 4 City Councilor, and then subsequently she won 2 elections after being appointed. One election in 2015 and then a second in 2019. As a result of her election win in 2019, she was to serve the Winchester City Council for District 4 from January 1st, 2020 to December 31st, 2023. Defendant Teale fulfilled her duty as Winchester City Councilor until March of 2023, at which time she stopped attending City Council meetings due to moving to Montana, some 1,717 miles northwest from Winchester, Indiana. Defendant Teale's absence from the meetings can be verified by the official city council minutes kept by the Winchester City Clerk. In the year 2023, Defendant Teale attended meetings on January 3rd, 16th, March 2nd, March 6th, and she did not attend the following meetings: March 20th, April 3rd, 17th, May 15th, June 19th, July 17th, August 21st, September 18th, October 2nd. All told, that is a total of 9 meetings over the course of 8 months. On March 29th, 2023, a newspaper article was published in print and online in a newspaper called the Cut Bank Pioneer Press. The article was called Cut Bank Pioneer Press Welcomes New Publisher. It was written by Leesa Friend-Teale, and it contains many mentions of moving from Winchester, Indiana to Cut Bank, Montana. She mentioned being a Winchester City Councilor, but she never mentioned resigning from the seat. The article contained a picture confirming it was, in fact, the same Leesa Friend-Teale, not some, just other person named that who also lived in a Winchester, Indiana, and was a city council person. The Cut Bank Pioneer Press newspaper is located at 19 South Central Avenue, Cut Bank, Montana. Defendant Teale filed to run for re-election in this current 2023 election cycle for some unknown reason, and she appeared on the ballot in May during the primary election, and she is still on the ballot for the upcoming November general election. She has been serving and collecting payment for her services and is running for re-election to Winchester City Council, even though she has lived outside of her elected district in which she was elected to serve, and she is currently on the ballot for. She has lived out of district for more than 6 months, during which time she has not attended the 9 consecutive meetings over the course of 8 months under Indiana Code 355 and 38223. Defendant Teale should have withdrawn from the 2023 election and resigned her seat. However, she has failed to do so. Randolph County Clerk Melinda Peed is also named as a defendant. So is Ben Wells, the Republican State of Indiana Party chairman. The person that filed this suit was Kate Thornburg because she is A, citizen of Winchester, B, she lives in the district in which Leesa is a counselor of, and C, Kate is the Libertarian Party chairman. So she is a party to this case and has standing in this case under 3 different scenarios. Each one of those would give her standing. All 3 of them together make her super standing. Okay. The citizens of Winchester, Indiana, as well as all citizens of Winchester, have been left underserved by Defendant Teale for the majority of the 2023 year. The phrase taxation without representation comes to mind. But this year has 2 more months. However, to leave this defendant on the ballot and to allow her to receive votes, to then allow her the possibility of winning, to then continue underserving the citizens of this community is sickening. Worse yet is the idea that she would be left on the ballot to possibly win so that she can then later be removed and another person unknown to voters be appointed by the party, not the voters, completely circumvents the entire process. Let's see here. The plaintiff, Kate Thornburg, requests that the court uphold the prompt emergency hearing on her request for injunctive relief and the compel through order the defendant, Leesa Friend, to comply with Indiana law and withdraw from the 2023 general election, or order the defendants, Wells and or Peed, to remove defendant Teale from the ballot. It is also requested that defendant Teale be ordered to resign from her position on the council as to not continue the charade of service to the citizens. There is Christopher Bilbrey in Amazing Snark. So I wanted to put that in there just to be able to destroy her. Why are the citizens of District 4 residents not raising hell? Some of them don't know, some of them don't care, and a lot of them are. A lot of them are raising hell. A lot of us and those people over there are bitching about this. No way. Okay. Wah, wah, wah. Okay. So from there, that's that. So I just wanted to say that breaking news. I wanted Niles and Kate to be a part of that, and that's the big deal. It's really been a team effort. Josh has been involved. Everybody's been involved with what's been going on there, and the citizens of Winchester District 4 deserve a lot better. From there, we're going to talk about something that is very similar, and I'm going to have kind of a different take on it. And then we're going to let you guys know about that. So Joe Tompkins says, why hasn't anyone filed this against Greg York if he doesn't live in Newcastle? So I want to show you something. I want to show you something about that very same thing. And that's where we're going next. So from now here, we're now moving on to Newcastle news as we talk about Mayor York and his Leesa Friend type situation and his Republican opponent being on the radio today talking with our good friend Rob Kendall. And I want to get a couple things ready here to be able to show y'all. So the first thing I want to do is let you guys, the people who don't know what we're talking about or who we're talking about or what's going on. So, first and foremost, these are the people we're talking about. Greg York is on the left. He is currently the incumbent mayor of Newcastle, Indiana. He is a Democrat. And then Clay Morgan is the challenger Republican on the right. The people in the middle, of course, are Kendall and Casey. That was a thing that I did this morning. And then this is the pictures that he put up for his like evidence. Okay, the picture on the left is apparently a residence that the mayor has. And it was taken on October 13th. And then after Clay Morgan posted something about it, then on Tuesday, October 17th, he went back and this is what the house looked like. So they did a bunch of work. And he is saying, hey, the mayor doesn't live here. And I want you guys to be able to hear exactly what was said. And I want to give you guys some input, some of my thoughts on this, and let you hear kind of what's going on. Give me 1 second here. And okay.
WIBC. It is the Kendall and Casey show. I'm Rob. Casey's here. And oh my gosh, Casey, there's nothing more that we love on this show than Central Indiana municipal government drama.
Do we? Do we love it? Oh, we love the drama.
Well, yes, we just love drama in general. And there is some drama going on out in Newcastle because there are allegations, get this, that the mayor doesn't actually live where he says he lives.
Well, and he's supposed to, according to Indiana Constitution Article 6.
Now, I want to state for the record, this has been something that people have been saying for years. Okay. Now, wait a minute. This is something that people have been saying for years. Okay. Now, what York has always said about this is he has multiple properties. He's got a couple different properties in the city. He's got a couple different properties just outside of the limits, like a golf ball swing outside the limits. Just, a couple different properties. He's got an apartment. He's got a house, got a couple houses, and he kind of bounces back and forth. Okay. And this has been something that has been brought up for years. Okay. Matter of fact, all the way back in 2011, somebody did exactly what we're doing. Okay. Somebody filed a case on him. And what happened here is it went before the court. The judge in that matter said, I don't think I can be fair and impartial. I'm recusing myself. And the special judge that got put in was Delaware County Circuit Court 3 Judge Linda Rayleigh Wolf. Now, I know Linda Rayleigh Wolf. I know some people like her. I know some people don't like her. I personally have never had an ill issue or ill will with her. And I know for a fact that she does not have political ties to Newcastle. She does not have political ties to Greg York. I don't think she could care one way or another about Greg York. I think that this is a case that she would listen to and she would go by law on. So if you pull this up, and you look, John Mark Nipp versus Greg York, Henry Circuit Court 1, 11/22/11 decided. You click on this, and it brings up the case summary. Says it was filed. Greg York was the defendant. Mark Nipp was the plaintiff. It was filed on 11/22. And just as ours is, it needed to be heard in a matter of days. And it was, both sides asked for some continuances. And on the 20th of July or 20th of December, the judge order issued findings of fact, conclusions of law, and judgment entered. The petition for election contest filed by John Mark Nipp is denied, and Greg York is hereby declared by this court to be duly qualified to assume the office of mayor of the city of Newcastle. Now, what was at stake at this juncture was exactly what was at stake today. Okay. Now, I just wanted to point that out there because a couple of you have said, well, why hasn't this ever been dealt with? It has. And a judge said that. Well, listen, that's the thing. I'm not saying that he's not. Listen, all I've done is I've said, do you reside in the city of Newcastle? And the people that have connected around to him, he's going to be on here Wednesday. We'll ask him. If you're interested in this, or not Wednesday, he's going to be on here tomorrow. You want to ask him tomorrow? We'll ask him. We'll find out. We'll find out, what he has to say. I see this and I say it was ruled by a judge in 2011. Okay. Now, I also want to listen to what Clay, it's very important to listen to what Clay says to Rob Kendall today. Okay, so now let's kick back to this Clay on the radio and listen to what Clay has to say. This is very interesting. It's very telling, and I've got some other evidence for you.
Section 6.
Yeah. So joining us now on the WIBC hotline is Clay Morgan. He is the Republican candidate for mayor of Newcastle. All right, Clay. So you posted this video outside what is supposedly the mayor's house. And by the way, this guy's name is Greg York. And if this is indeed his house, it looks like something out of a Fred Krueger movie. Tell us what's going on.
Well, so back in 2011, he said he lived at that property. That's what enabled him to run for office and vote in Newcastle. At the time, he said he stayed there 4 nights a week, or 4 days a week, excuse me. But since that time, it seems that there is no one at that property.
Yeah, I mean, you posted this video. You were outside. You put it on your Clay Morgan for Mayor Facebook page. And this place, Casey, I mean, if you paid me $10,000, I'm not sure I'd sleep there one night. And we're led to believe this was where the mayor lived.
It looks like it's a Halloween house, but it's not intentionally decorated for Halloween.
So tell us about it, Clay. Like, what's been his response to this? Does he still claim that's where the mayor of a somewhat sizable city lives?
Actually, he's been pretty silent about it. It was brought up at a forum on a Thursday night here just a couple Thursday nights ago. He asked me what my definition of transparency was. So I replied with the definition of transparency, and then I quoted the Indiana Constitution, Article 6, Section 6, and then I gave my address. And I said, that's transparency. There was no response. However, the following Tuesday, a few days later, that morning, a tree service was out, and they were clearing the property. So that property looks much different than it did in the video.
Yeah. So, and you have this. What's the name of your Facebook page, by the way, so people can go see all of this? Not only your video, but also what we're about to talk about. Where can people find this?
Yeah, it is at Clay Morgan for mayor.
Okay, so Clay Morgan is the Republican running for mayor of Newcastle. There's a huge controversy about whether the current incumbent mayor, Greg York, actually lives where he claims, which obviously is a huge no-no if indeed he doesn't live there. Okay, so you posted this photo about after you did this video, the property, the before and after photos. Oh my gosh, Casey, it's not even like it's like you would say that's artificial intelligence.
Mm-hmm. It sounds to me like somebody is pulling a page from the Kendall and Casey playbook. Like as soon as they get called out, they go quickly make changes.
Well, and after I posted that video, a friend of his quickly texted me and said, "Hey, I want to make sure you get your facts straight." He said, "I'm the one buying that property and I'm the one cleaning that house up." And so I replied, "Well, that's a minor issue, though it did need cleaned up." I said, "But the major issue is residency." I said, "So will the mayor be renting off you?"
Okay, so how are the people of Newcastle responding to this? Because, look, if it were to go to a court of law, I think he'd have a really hard time saying, that's where I live. I don't know. That'd be for a judge and jury to decide. But are the people in Newcastle looking at this and going, dude,
Yeah, it's interesting. It's, I don't know, 50-50, 60-40. There's some people that don't care. I think, unfortunately, many people just have come to get used to a little bit of corruption in government. And so they just kind of let some things slide. And then some people think just because there was a case settled in 2011, that still applies to the 2023 election, which according to Indiana code, it clearly doesn't.
Well, yeah, I mean, you got to keep living there, right? And so I guess, is there a theory on if indeed the mayor doesn't live at this haunted house that he that he currently says he does? Is there a theory on like where he lives?
Oh, yeah. Everybody knows where he lives. He lives a couple miles west of city limits.
So and so that's important, right? Because it's not like you're not claiming, well, he lives just right down the street and he just has failed to fill.
Okay, so now wait a minute. For the record, all right, I just need to ask Clay something here, and I want Clay to come on here because I want to ask this. Okay, I want to ask this. Is he not transparent? Or is he so transparent that everybody knows? All right. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what the deal is. I'm going tomorrow to find out what address that he filed to run when he first filed to run. And I'm going to go pull what he filed this last time. I'm going to see what he's put on his campaign finance sheets. I'm going to compare all those times. But I have to ask Mr. Morgan, because in one breath he says, well, he's not transparent about this. But then in the same breath he says, oh, yeah, everybody knows about this. It's no big deal. Everybody knows. Some people just put up with it. It's just a little bit of corruption, whatever. So it's either everybody knows or nobody knows. I don't go around saying transparency, Muncie, Roselvi, you're not being transparent. And then in the very same breath, I say, oh, everybody knows what Ro's up to. Everybody knows. No, nobody knows. No one knows what's going on because they won't live stream the things. He's talking out of both sides of his mouth for political reasons, and I'm going to tell you why. And I know that I'm going to take some heat for this because some people are going to say, well, wait a minute, if you're mad at Leesa, shouldn't you be mad at Greg? Okay, now, and I'm going to tell you why I look at it a little bit different, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to give you the answer I think that you're going to want to hear. But let's just keep listening to this, and we'll explain a little bit further. So here we go. Let's finish this up.
Out a form. You're claiming he doesn't live in the city, period, which if indeed that were the case would make him ineligible to be the mayor of Newcastle, right?
Correct. He does not reside within the city limits.
Clay Morgan is our guest. He's running against incumbent Mayor Greg York for the mayor of Newcastle. All right, so let's take the residency out of the equation here. Newcastle was a city that obviously was once a very vibrant, thriving place. It was the epicenter of kind of manufacturing here in the state of Indiana, one of many, much like places like Anderson. And it hit hard times as technology changed, as jobs changed. Newcastle's on the verge of a resurgence in many ways. Tell us about what you'd like to do if you're mayor.
Well, so one thing I want to do is get the financials straight. So there's some things that are looking good around town. Our parks are looking good. Downtown's looking good. There's a lot of facades being placed. There's some small businesses coming in. There's some roads being paved right now this year, and all that's great. But the thing is, all of that funding comes from grant funding. So when you look at the city financials, we have actually been overdrawn since this mayor took office. In 2012, we ended that year 69,000 overdrawn in 20.
And of course, ladies and gentlemen, this is what we were talking about last night when I read the thing from the clerk treasurer. All right. So listen to what he says, but then also keep in mind what the clerk treasurer said last night. All right, let's go.
22, we ended the year 8.1 million overdrawn, and that's within the city budget. So one thing we have to do is quit overspending and start actually taking care of some of the essential services of the city. Like, for instance, real quickly, October 1st, we cut out our EMS transports for the hospital, the emergency transports. the ALS, Advanced Life Support Transports, because of a lack of funding. They have no money to pay for the overtime, to pay for the paramedics. So it's caused our hospital a heck of a problem, our residents a heck of a problem. And now, because they can't find ambulances, sometimes they're having to call in helicopters to come and transport people.
All right, Greg, before we let you go, again, this guy, Greg Dorkey's been the mayor for 3 terms. You're pretty much just, whether he lives in the city or he doesn't, I mean, it's certainly, you could make, I think, a pretty viable case based on looking at that house. Wow, if that's where the mayor lives, that's a pretty big indictment of the job he's doing running the city at the very least. But after 3 terms, whether he was living in a mansion or living in that haunted house or whatever it might be, you're just kind of fresh out of ideas after 3 terms, right? If you had 12 years and you ain't got it done, it ain't going to get done.
Hey, I agree. I think I'm a big believer in term limits. I think 12 years is enough. Let's move on. He has multiple businesses he's running on the side. Let's let him, run his businesses, and maybe he could be a good part of the tax base for Newcastle.
Well, Clay, and just besides the Indiana code violation, it's a matter of transparency, don't you believe?
Amen. I believe it. Yes.
All right. If people want to learn more about you, Clay Morgan, how can they do that?
Well, I have a website, claymorganformayor.com. I have a Facebook page, Morgan for Mayor, and also on Instagram. So those are the 3 easy ways.
The fun just never stops in local government in the state, Casey. It just never stops. And it's just good to know that there are people who are just bad everywhere, and it's not just the little west side utopia that I live in over there in Brownsburg.
Exactly. We can't keep complaining about corruption in government and then keep voting corruption right back in.
All right, Clay Morgan, thank you.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate it.
You're listening to Kendall
All
and
right,
Casey.
I want to go back to this just
That's
for
where
one
I live. I don't know. That'd be for a
I don't know, 50-50, 60-40. There's some people that don't care. I think, unfortunately, many people just have come to get used to a little bit of corruption in government. And so they just kind of let some things slide. And then some people think just because there was a case settled in 2011 that still applies to the 2023 election, which according to Indiana code, it clearly doesn't.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Okay, so he just said something interesting there. He said that some people think just because there was a case in 2011, some people wrongly think that applies to the 2023 election, and it clearly doesn't. Okay. My question then is, Clay Morgan has been running for mayor. He's been running for mayor since he quit the council, disenfranchising voters on the council. When he said, I'm not a good council member, I need to step down, I need to quit. Okay. I need to reevaluate myself and get in touch with God. All right. Maybe he did. I don't know. Maybe he needed to get in touch with God. Far be it from me to say if a man doesn't or does not need to get in touch with God again. Maybe he needed it. But if you couldn't fulfill your obligation to one set of voters, I don't know that you can fulfill your obligation to another set of voters. But the number one thing I've got a problem is he's been Andrew popping it. All right. He's been running for mayor for 4 years. Okay. Here's the thing. He didn't say anything about this in 2022. He didn't say anything about this in 2023. He didn't say anything about this back when the challenge period. Clay Morgan could have challenged the mayor, and they could have went before the election board, and the election board could have got him up there on the stand under oath and said, Mayor York, where do you live? And the mayor could have said, well, I live at yada, yada, yada. And they could have fought this out and proved it. And the election board could have said, we don't believe you. And they could have kicked him off the ballot. They could have made him not eligible to run in this election. But Clay did not challenge him in February. Clay did not challenge him during the primary. Clay didn't challenge him in July. He didn't challenge him in August. He didn't challenge him in September. You know what Clay waited to do? Clay waited till October, the October surprise. And then he dropped this thing. All right. He dropped this because, and let me tell you right here. I'm going to tell you right here. No, I'm not saying Greg gets a pass. I'm going to come back and sweep that around. I'm going to come and sweep that back around. We'll let you hear that. I'm just arguing from Clay's part. All right. I'm just saying from Clay's perspective. Then I'm going to come around and talk about Greg's. Clay did not fight this because Clay is not a fighter. Clay is not a fighter. When he was on the county council, I watched him meeting after meeting after meeting walk into the county council, have an idea that was different than his 6 other cohorts on the council, spend 30 minutes arguing that idea. Spend 30 minutes arguing. And then the vote would get to him and he would say, he would vote with everybody else and he would say, I just didn't want to go the opposite way. I just didn't have it in me. I just didn't want to fight. He's a quitter. He's not a fighter. So we want to ask Greg questions and we want to come down on Greg. Okay, so be it. Do I think Greg is perfect? No, I do not. I do not think Greg is perfect. I think Greg has some issues. I think Greg has some flaws. Same with very good possibility that Landon Dean had some flaws. Landon Dean had questions people wanted to know this and that all about. But at the end of the day, folks, we're in a situation where you're going to have to vote for Greg York, or you're going to have to vote for Clay Morgan, or you're going to have to go in and you're going to have to press nothing. You're going to have to vote nothing. And voting nothing is more than fine. Voting nothing is more than fine. But other people are going to vote. And so I just want everybody to have all of the information possible. I want to know. The question I want to ask, I got questions for Greg. Greg's going to be on here tomorrow. We're going to be able to ask him tomorrow. I'm not giving Greg just the easy pass out. But I'm not going to give Clay an easy pass because he comes out with the October surprise. Bang! Nah. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. The other thing is, it's really interesting that on a federal level, that you can run for office as a district candidate for District 6, living in District 3. You can run for candidate for District 5, living in District 2. So I think it's real shitty that they do it there. There's also just a small smidgen thing to be. Do I compare Greg York and Leesa Friend? Absolutely not. There's not a comparison. There is not a comparison. Are we busting Greg's balls because his house is dirty? Are we busting his balls because his weeds are up in front of his house? Look, I'm going to be honest. Do I know Greg York lives at that house on 11th Street? I don't know if he lives there. Do I know if he lives out in the country where some say he lives? I don't know if he lives there. Do I know if Dan Ridenour lives where he says he lives? I don't know. Do I know? I don't know. Do I know? I don't know where anybody lives. I can tell you where a handful of people live. I can tell you where a handful of people live. I can also tell you that what Rex Peckinpah is saying is right there. I know that Greg York has put in 18 and 19-hour days. I know that Greg York goes out and works on the street department when there's a water main break, when there's a fire, when there's whatever. So is Greg taking care of his property the way that he should? The other thing is, and we got to keep this in mind. The other thing we got to say is that house doesn't look a whole hell of a lot different than a number of other homes in Henry County, in Newcastle. Okay, so all I'm saying this is, I don't know where Greg lives. Well, let's ask him. We're going to ask him tomorrow. And the other challenge I put up to Clay is put your money where your mouth is. Shut up. Why not file something? Why didn't you not file something back in February? You know what's funny? You know what's funny about this? Wow. Joey, that's crazy, bro. Man, that's a long ass day. You know what's funny about this thing with Greg York and Clay? Is like today's the deadline. If he didn't file today with the court, he can't really file, and more than likely he won't get a thing before the he should have filed today. So my whole thing is Clay seems to peddle problems, not solutions, and I'm wanting to ask them. I want elected officials who have solutions and not the problems. So I'm perfectly capable and perfectly fine with asking Greg, what's the deal here? What's going on? Where do you live? How can the people trust you and have faith in you? Blah, 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 blah. I'm fine with that. I just absolutely want to know, why has Clay not done anything about this? Why is Clay only running his trap about it? You know how easy it was? Hey, how easy was it? I sent you that paperwork, and what did you do?
I walked into the clerk's office, told them that I was there to file a suit with the Superior Court, handed them $177. They stamped it, made a copy, and I walked out.
How long did that take you?
It probably took about 10 minutes, but that's because we had to wait for a few minutes until they found a clerk that actually knew what they were doing.
I mean, yeah.
No, not that they knew what they were doing, but they wanted to make sure it was filed correctly, so they had some questions.
From the time you called me to the time you called me was 20 minutes, maybe.
Yeah.
Or the time I called you.
We were bullshitting outside a little bit.
Sure. So yeah, I was probably shorter than that. So, okay, very good. I'm sorry. That's all I wanted.
It was easy.
Yeah.
Other than the heart attack that came with it, because it's a little nerve-wracking.
Nerve-wracking.
We had the date within like 3 hours.
Oh, yeah.
It was posted on my case. In like 3 hours, the date was up. It's like lickety split. I was impressed.
Yeah. Me too.
All right, I'm going to go away again.
Yeah, you're fine. No, thank you. So I just wanted to say, look, Greg's coming on tomorrow. We're going to ask Greg. We're going to talk to Greg. We're going to hear about all he's done. I want Clay to come on. I want Clay to come on because I've got questions for Greg. I've got questions for Clay. Greg's going to come on. Clay's been dodging me. I want Clay to come on. Will he come on? I don't know. I just know that when I look at what Clay also made a comment 2 times that he has pictures of an elected official putting gas in their car from a city-owned pump, but he has never produced. That's interesting. Yeah, I heard him say that, and I want to see what the deal is with that. I don't know what his deal is with that. I want to know what he's talking about, because those are some pretty serious allegations that he's making. I mean, that's I mean, let's just face it. That's serious theft allegations that he is making there. And, I mean, that's one of those cases. It's like, make a police report or shut up about it. I just don't, I've heard Clay say that. And you know what's scary to me about that is, I'm going to tell you what's scary about that, folks. Listen to me. And I get what you're saying. Who's been dogging me? I get what you're saying, Joe Tompkins. 100%. I love it. I love the pushback too. Keep me honest, bro. That's the way. I have no problem with that. I get when I hear Clay Morgan talk, and I see this election unfolding the way that it is, I shudder because it's a repeat of Sproles. I hear this happen and I'm like, ooh, Sproles, man. And these people are going to buy into this shit and they're going to elect this guy and they're going to get Sproles. We're going to get Sproles 2.0. And I'm telling you, man, when we've got a sheriff that is John Sproles and a mayor in Newcastle that is John Sproles, it is not going to be good.
Well, the other thing that I have is that he's coming out, he's complaining, he's bringing forward things that are like could be like serious issues.
Yeah.
And then he does nothing.
Yeah.
So how is he going to govern?
Yeah, right.
He is a do-nothing candidate who bitches a lot. So I have a feeling that he will be a do-nothing mayor who bitches a lot.
Yeah.
Just personal opinion, but that's it's not a good sign.
Yeah.
Put up or shut up.
Yeah, yeah. What do you mean, Joe? It's exactly like that. What do you mean? What do you mean it's exactly what's that in reference to? You mean the Sproles or what are you talking about? Yeah, he's mostly talked about forming committees. Rex Peckinpah. We're going to have Rex Peckinpah on, too, here coming up soon, folks. So be looking for Rex. Rex is a counselor who's going to be on here, and we're going to talk to him, too. But that's the thing that gets me about Clay. Look, I love an elected official who says, I don't know everything. I'm going to have some people around me that I want to give me ideas and to be better than me. But literally every single thing, Clay's like, I need to get these people to give me their ideas, and I need to form a committee so I can have these people and I can get some good ideas from these people. And I was going to tie these shoes, but I need to form a committee to tell me if I need Velcro or slip-ons. And I was going to pick this bubble gum, but I got a committee to tell me, I needed this other kind of gum, So it's just like, no, dude, you got to be able to do some of it on your own, bro. Like I don't know. So I'm just so scared because if Newcastle, I don't even live there, but if Newcastle has a Sproles in the sheriff's office and Clay Morgan in the mayor's office, holy hell. Woo-wee. It's not good. So I want you guys to hear something before we move on, and I got to talk about Muncie. So I got to move past this. I want you guys to hear this first off. This is from. It's going to be kind of hard to hear, so I'm going to help you out with this. So just bear with me. This is Clay Morgan. Clay Morgan as a Henry County Councilor on December 17th, 2020. I want you guys to listen to what he says here. What the council is talking about is giving the part-time employees a $250 one-time bonus, giving the full-time employees a $500 bonus, and giving the elected officials a $500 bonus. And this was what they were doing right after COVID. This was Christmas after COVID. This is the December in 2020. So shit had been crazy for like 8 months. all sorts of chaos was going on. Everybody's wearing masks. And they're talking about giving the workers who had worked hard and busted their butts, they're talking about giving them a bonus. All right. Now, in this situation, if one of the council members would have said, no, I think you can give all of the part-time people raises or bonus. I think you can give all the full-time people bonuses, and you can give all of the elected official bonuses, but I don't think the council deserves a bonus. I could have pat that person on the back. But I want you to listen to what you hear, what we're going to hear out of Mr. Morgan here. Chad Malacote is talking. He's the guy right here. Clay Morgan is right here, and he's going to start talking.
Those are funds we pay on top of every salary that we pay in the roughly 19%. It's not exactly as close.
Here comes Clay.
When you say elected officials, I have to ask a question. Does that include council?
It includes all elected officials.
Clay just said, when you say that, does that for all of the council? And Chad Malacote said it's for all elected officials.
So on that, at this time, I wrestle with that because I know there are some council members that I personally would say deserved it.
He said, at this time, I'm going to have to say I wrestle with that because I know that there are some council members that personally deserve it.
No doubt about it. Some have worked much harder than I have on figuring out things, but
some have worked much harder than I have on figuring out things is what he says. So I know it's hard to hear, but let's go back and listen to it again. We're going to start right here.
So the total exposure is just under 190,000. Yes. So in other words, taxes will not be taken out of the 500 or 250 that we have on. Well, no, taxes, regular income taxes will be taken out. The county will have to pay their portion of the Social Security and Medicare tax, as well as the PERF that all employees receive in their retirement. That is on top. Those are funds we pay on top of every salary that we pay in the county. Roughly 19%. It's not exactly as close.
Here it goes.
when you say elected officials, I have to ask this question. Does that include council?
When you say elected officials, I have to ask, does that include council?
It includes all elected officials.
It includes all elected officials.
So on that, at this time, I wrestle with that because
Okay, at this time, I wrestle with that.
I know there are some council members that I personally would say deserved it, no doubt about it. Some have worked much harder than I have on figuring out things, but
Some have worked much harder than I have. Why? I mean, good for him on that. I guess on that little bit of honesty. Okay, good for him there. But what in the hell? Why do we want this dude? Why is he not working harder? Like, are we gonna, is he gonna be elected to the mayor's office? And then 2 years in being like, well, I've not really been working very hard. I've not really been, that's nuts. Okay. Now let's listen to him on this next line, what he says, and we should hear him a little bit better. This is on a Zoom call. Let's hear what we can hear here. This should be interesting.
28-01. It's a resolution authorizing a reduction in appropriation from the county commissioner's budget in the amount of $30,529.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We have further discussion. Clay, how do you vote?
Yeah.
No.
Betsy?
Come on, Clay.
Harold? Thumbs up, Chad?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Debbie, are we good if I jump back to Sean now?
Yeah, you're good. I just wanted to make sure you caught that one thing.
I had missed it, thank you. Sean, so are you on the call right now?
Yes, I am.
Great, okay. I know that we have had discussion in the past about the possibility of a paid chaplain position, and there were a lot of questions. So
Sure. Everybody's just misunderstanding. I'm sorry. I digress. You guys win. It's done. So let's move on.
Listen.
No.
Listen, what he said right there, he had just got done bitching for hours, for a very long time about why they needed to not do something. They shouldn't do this. They shouldn't do this.
Big box stores. We'll do an additional and put it in
our last council meeting.
Listen,
that what the commissioners were wanting to do wouldn't work out very well. And which is one of the reasons why I voted no on that. Also, my question was about how this could be budget neutral, because that was the emphasis, is that this change would be budget neutral. And I didn't feel like it would be, but, because of the personnel issues, Commissioner Yanis at the time basically advised us to quit talking about it. And so I just shut my mouth. So anyways, I guess my point is it's already done. It's an issue that again, Auditor Walker and myself seen an issue would arise out of this more than likely. Evidently it did. My only, I guess, as far as government is concerned, like good governing and doing things properly, do the commissioners, because we talked in that last meeting again about making sure the council does the council stuff and the commissioners do the commissioner stuff. And maybe they do, but do the commissioners have the ability just to put another person in somebody's office, or is that something that should have went through the council first, and then we went through the process in what I feel like would be the most appropriate way? Again, maybe I'm wrong, but is that how it should have went?
I'm just thinking, Clay.
And then they,
When I heard about it, I thought between their department,
so he's been arguing shit. Then they all.
All the years I've been on the council, I have tried to always be up front. Just, as long as things are done the right way. And that's what the people demanded. And that caused a big changeover in our offices. So here we are the governing body, and we're telling people we're going to listen to the people. We're going to be transparent. We're going to be upfront. And the only reason I'm dragging this on is because I still don't know the answer. Should we, in this situation, run it by the council? Or, because this might come up again, and I want to make sure I know so that I don't make a big deal out of it next time. Do the commissioners have the authority in their functioning office to just allow an office to hire an employee if they see fit and work it out with them? That's my only question.
Okay, let's let Joel answer the question.
Well, speaking from a general proposition and not necessarily to this particular scenario, the council's function is to determine the number of positions and the salaries for those positions. And then each individual office holder can determine who fills those positions. So I guess
so he's being spanked down.
General.
Listen here.
So they moved. Again, Okay. I guess I'm still not getting necessarily a real super clear answer. It's just,
Then let us talk to you. Let's talk with you so we can come to an answer. I have a question for you.
okay.
Is somebody upset that this is done? You're saying you're trying to represent the people. Who's upset if the money's coming out of the auditor's budget instead of the commissioner's budget? Who's upset about that?
Again, it's not an issue. See, that's where I think people are misunderstanding what I'm saying. It's not an issue so much of the money issue as procedural issue. Because again, I mean, I don't want to go over all the history of it, but this started a long time ago during budget session when Commissioner Tarantino fought for his positions.
Right.
And
Clay is right.
And we were trying to figure something else out.
That's
but
me talking about
stated
Clay
how
being
desperately
right.
The commissioner's office needed those positions. And then
Now listen, here he
suddenly,
caves. He's
we-
been arguing this point and arguing this point and arguing this point. And because he's been getting pushback, he then caves. Listen.
we find out they're letting these positions go and then allowing Ann Banks, or excuse me, our HR department take on the responsibility, to which our auditor stated that that wouldn't work because there's too much. She knew at that time that it would need.
And for the record, I want to say this, and I don't know if she's listening or if she'll hear this or if she won't hear this or if someone can tell her, please get this message to her. When I first started poking around in Henry County, I used to have the biggest problem with Debbie Walker, the auditor. I didn't understand things that she did, but it was about this time, it was about January of 2021 that the light bulb clicked in my head. I was like, oh, she's not doing things wrong. She's actually highly intelligent and doing a damn good job, but she gets so frustrated because she's working around all these idiots. And they make her so frustrated. And now I get why she's doing the things she's doing. And I've loved to watch her work since then because I get what she does and I very much appreciate her. And so she gets the gold star in the Bilbrey book because I realize how much in my opinion, she's improved, but she's not. She's just always done a good job. I just get what she's doing now. So I want to apologize for anything I've ever said against her or whatever, but I get what the issue is.
Need extra work. Someone would have to take it. And at last month's meeting, basically, it was kind of the understanding that the auditor's office was going to do it no matter what. Like they were going to make the decision, and then that extra workload would go to the auditor. Now, the auditor had in the past not filled positions, which reduced the positions available in her office. And she did that for the county, and everything. And we worked through that and it was a good thing. Well, the way I perceive it and the way some others have perceived it is that as soon as the commissioners found out that it was going to be too much, they knew her office couldn't handle the extra work without an extra staff member. They just said, hey, you go ahead and hire a staff member and we'll use your budget. And then she can help also fulfill the secretarial stuff for us.
Here it comes.
You see what I'm saying? It's a matter of procedure. It's just, my understanding was here a couple years ago that this body was trying to, for lack of demand really, transparency from the other offices. And I know we together as a team had been very upset at times when commissioners in the past had done things like this.
We're moving on to Muncie after this.
I've been surprised by some of the moves here over the past few months, and we bring them to a council meeting to talk about them, but they're already done. And then we get our approval. That's all.
But I am sitting here absolutely baffled. I don't recall any time over the last 4 years that I sat in this courtroom ever being upset about who worked in which department. So if there's, let me talk. I let you talk. So
Sure. Everybody's just misunderstanding. I'm sorry. I digress. You guys win. It's done. So let's move on.
No.
Wait, can I ask a question? This is Bobby. It's my understanding that we are reducing that from the commissioner's budget and correct me if I'm wrong, and putting it in the auditors.
Okay.
That is my understanding.
This is nuts.
So at the last meeting, Commissioner Tarantino had one solution for. We have a motion in a second. We have further
Here goes.
discussion. Clay, how do you vote?
Yeah.
No. He voted.
Betsy?
Come on, Clay. He voted yes. I just everyone's just misunderstanding. That's a Sproul's excuse if I've ever heard one. Everybody's misunderstanding. I'm telling you, dude. Vote for this guy. Hey, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where Greg lives. You know what I mean? I don't know where he lives. I don't know what the deal is. I can tell you this much. Wherever he lives, I guarantee you his ass lives at 47362. I believe he has a 47362 area code. That's better safe. That's better as I can say for Leesa, who lived all the way in Montana. You know, hell, I don't know. But all I know is if you throw the bums out, throw Greg out, I'm cool with it. I'm going to ask him where he lives tomorrow, and we're going to hammer him on it. That's fine. I'm fine with that. But Clay Morgan, man, I don't know. All right, folks. From there, we're going to go on now. Greg could live in Jupiter and still be better mayor than Sproles Jr. over there. And I get where people say, like, he's got to be doing the right thing. He can't just be doing his own thing. He can't be, and I get that. And I'm not knocking anyone for saying that. I get it 100%. But that's that. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So that's where we're at with that. We're moving on now. We're almost done. I apologize. I know we've been going long. I know it's long, but this is important. We got to get this out. City of Muncie. City of Muncie. Tonight they had their City of Muncie, the Public Works meeting. And they were supposed to have that open to the public. It was supposed to be live streaming so the public could see what was going on, hear what was going on. What we were discussing in that, what was being discussed, was very important, okay? People are questioning. People don't know who's telling the truth. People think that some, politics is being played. People on both sides of this argument saying politics. Republicans are saying Democrats are playing politics. Democrats are saying Republicans are playing politics. Everybody's screaming someone else is doing something wrong. The firemen are saying nobody loves them. Everybody hates them. Nobody knows what it's like to be a poor fireman, and the fireman says that everyone's trying to kill him, and it's just all crazy, and they can't understand why anybody would want them to live in a bad way, and blah 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 blah. So I go to the meeting tonight. I prepare with producer Kate. I'm like, okay, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to go to the meeting. We're going to pull the meeting up like we do. Kate's in the studio. Kate's going to get the thing going, and Kate's going to upload the meeting, and voila, we're there. We're good. I'm at the meeting. I can't be doing it. No big deal. So I call Kate while I'm on the way, and she's like, hey, I'm already live. And I'm like, oh, what? It's live already? And she was like, yeah, I'm in the duck. It's live. I got music playing. And I was like, oh, so the city council meeting's not playing yet. And she's like, oh, no. So I'm like, okay. Well, I'm like getting there. I get there actually a minute late. So I'm like, oh, God, I got to get in there. So I'm like, I'm going down and refreshing the City of Muncie's Facebook page because I'm thinking, well, it would be on the City of Muncie's Facebook page. They should be lighting up the thing. Now, on tonight's agenda, okay, was the Public Works. Public Works is 3 people. The Muncie City Council is a 9-member board, 6 districts, 3 at large. The committees are made up of 3-member committees. So all of the various standing committees have 3 members on it. That way they can get together and meet and it not need a special meeting called yada, yada, yada. It's not a quorum of voters. They can get together, get the information, and then they can make a ruling on it. And then all that is just their ruling. They take it back to the council, and the larger council can agree with their ruling and vote. They can not agree, and they can table it. They can not agree and kill it. The board could not agree. The committee could not agree and not give something a favorable recommendation, and the council could pass it. So it could do any number of things. So on tonight's Public Works Committee was Rose Selvey. She was the chair, and Aaron Clark and Roger Overby. Those are supposed to be the 3 counselors there. And I joked. I was like, oh, good. Aaron Clark's going to be here. He's already related to this mess. Blah, 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 blah. Well, when I found out that this meeting got called on the 16th of October, no one said that Aaron wasn't going to be there. I had no reason to believe Aaron wouldn't be there. He's a sitting city councilor. He should have been there. So we get there. I get there to the meeting, and it's like starting as I'm walking in, and I'm like, why is this not live streaming? And I look back in the room where the live streaming guy is, and nobody's back in there. So I go up front, and I'm like, hey, are we live streaming? And Rose like, no. And I was like, why is this not live streaming? This should be live streaming. And she gavels me and she says, point of order. And I said, no, this is a point of order. This is a public meeting. This should be live streaming. And she calls the council attorney up and says, are we doing anything illegal here? And he was like, no. He was like, you follow the law. And I'm like, I don't care if you follow the law. That's the floor, not the ceiling. I was like, you need to cancel this. And she's like, I'm not recalling this meeting. And I said, well, this is a bullshit meeting. And she was like, you're out of order. You're out of order. And I'm like, you're out of order. You're out of order. This is a bullshit meeting. So then I get pissed. And I leave and I storm out of the building because my phone is dying. I would have just turned it on and played, but I had like 3%. I didn't think I needed my battery because the City of Muncie live streams. So I plug it in, I slam it in, I drive home. Most of you saw that. For the people who didn't see that, I just want you to just protect your ears, protect all the young ones. People, there's going to be some naughty words. I was really mad when I first got going to the City of Muncie. I'm going to show you just a portion of this for just 1 second, and then I'm going to show you what happened here. So this is how it started out, because Kate was waiting. We were like waiting on the city council meeting to get going. We thought they would eventually start live streaming. She was just on there playing her music, having a good old party. And I'm like texting her saying, keep it going. I'm trying to figure something out. Public committee. Here we go. Bring me on. I'm like Puff Daddy saying, turn me up, turn me up, turn me up, turn me up. When he was playing music with Jimmy Page. Hey, take me off of, take that thing off. Take that thing off. I thought I was talking to Kate. I didn't know if she was on there. Damn it. I was getting more and more mad. Okay, hey, Kate, can you kill the music? I was trying to figure out how to do it. Okay, folks, so this is what's going on. For everybody wanting to know, please, Kate, can you or somebody please go and share this on my page? Share the link on my page and title it the
I'm at a stoplight right here.
Firefighter Public Works Committee meeting, and then people share it to the Muncie groups. The city of Muncie is not live streaming this. I went in and I asked Rose Selvey why they're not live streaming it. First of all, there's only 2 of the council members there, Rose Selvey and Roger Overby. Aaron Clark is not in attendance. Go figure that one. Dan Ridenour is not there. I asked Rose Selvey why she's not live streaming it. She said they did what was by law they needed to do. I said, you need to continue this meeting until you can live stream it. They had Brandon Murphy come up. Brandon Murphy, I'm so pissed off. My phone is dead. I didn't know that I would need it because I thought that they would know what to do. And Rose like, well, we did what we did. And I said, well, she said, point of order. And she said, we need to continue with the meeting. And I said, the bullshit meeting. So now I'm on my way home to try to get my battery pack because I'm trying to get back to share any bit of it. This is absolute horse shit. This is Republican Rose Selvey, Republican Dan Ridenour, Muncie Republican bullshit. They're holding this meeting where the whole fire department's lined up in there and they're all doing their stupid bullshit. They're going to go in there and they're going to say their thing. And Rose Selvey and Roger Overby and I guess Aaron Clark, he don't need to be there. Why would he need to be there? It's his cousin. He's known all about this. They're going to say they've got all the information they need. I saw that Jerry Dishman was there, and I saw that Troy Ingram was there. But I don't even know if other counselors are there in the audience.
I was screaming.
And they're going to say,
I thought I was screaming.
Got enough. It's a Republican thing. This is political. This is a load of shit. This is absolutely ridiculous.
That guy's an idiot on there. That guy's an idiot. I didn't know I was that pissed off. I knew I was pissed off. Dan be lying. That's hilarious. Okay, so I get home and then I get back to the meeting and I go in there and I slam this thing down. And listen, everybody kept telling me you can't hear stuff. I know the city of Muncie should have done this.
For the last few years, but
I'm sorry.
The results of this study and the results of the IAFF study from years ago, this basically reinforced each other.
I'm sorry, folks. I hate that the audio's shitty.
Not know when she got recruited that she
all spy responses. And there may be others that have come through. The number 2 reason is similar to many of
the danger and cost of these vehicles' size and weight on our community, and acknowledge that these vehicles have responded.
So, John, though, it doesn't matter.
Go ahead.
How much on $7.84 million?
Oh, this was good. Audie's point was good.
An incentive then to make billing cost more. So the way that we make our money in construction is we give you a guarantee. We will give you complete open book pricing. Profit will always be shown. It will be guaranteed. It will never go away.
Thank
How much Audie Barber, Jane Doe, John Doe, it doesn't matter.
you. Go ahead.
He was
How much on $7.84 million does GM make off of this building? It's a simple question. Do you make 100,000? Do you make 108,000? Do you make 1.2 million? Do you make 2.5 million? What does GM?
He's
make off
asking
this
how
building?
much the middleman makes.
In the budget that I presented at the council, it says very clearly on there that the overhead profit is $127,450.
He said
That is not just
they make $127,000 and then they split that between him and somebody else. And how basically he said it goes is they split. So he gets 40% of $127,000 and some other construction company gets 60% of it. And Audie went up there and said, I don't believe that. That's full of shit. I don't believe that's true.
Budget, part of the bidding process.
lots of things. That does not happen in starting construction. The winter, as an example, and there's certain treatments that you may have to do for soil.
Okay,
And
so
what
here's the
that's
first
doing-
time I went up.
Any other questions?
Christopher Bilbrey, this is not a question, I guess it's more of a statement. He said that one of those things in the budget was to pay for testing the soil in the winter. And since this has been up for vote, he keeps talking about the fact that if it's voted on quickly, that it would start in May. So I would simply say, let's not pay for testing in winter. If we hold off 3 more months, that would only push it till July, which is still not winter. So if the new council votes,
that was just common sense to me.
January, that's going to push this away 3 months. If we start now and we start construction in May of 24, 3 months from now, I assume would be July of 24. So, it's still not winter. And I want to put that.
People work under those kind of issues where they don't have privacy, they don't have
Hard to hear.
the amenities that they should have just for say living there.
Here's where Roe and I got into it.
There's nobody here that disagrees. There's nobody out in Muncie that disagrees. Maybe if you were talking about police, there might be certain public that don't like police. Nobody has a problem with firemen. Nobody has a problem with firemen. There's not a person in here that's speaking. There's not a person in the last meeting. You will never find people saying you shouldn't be taking care of this fireman. Everybody on the council, everybody that's running for office currently, everyone that's on all of their teams for the last several weeks has been yelling politics, politics. Politics has been on all sides of this. The Republicans have played it, the Democrats have played it. That's what happens. That's what government is, politics. I'm very disappointed, talking about politics, that the mayor is not here. The mayor should be sitting here. The mayor should be leading the charge on this. He's not. I'm very disappointed in you. You have let the citizens of Muncie down. This committee, didn't even need to have it. This is a massive fight within the city of Muncie right now. And there's a lot of questions, a lot of people wanting to know what's happening, a lot of people wanting to know what's going to cost, what the figures are, where are they going, what are we not doing, what's happening, who's doing it. The citizens needed to be able to witness that, needed to be able to see that, and you failed with the citizens. You had an option to make it right, and you chose not to. So that's very disappointing. I would like to make sure that whatever we do here, if we go forward with GM development, that somebody, for the love of God, make sure that we're going to get a roof if we do get fired. Because I know
I asked to make sure we get a roof on the firehouse.
and that's going to cost us citizens in Muncie as well. So just somebody make sure that we're getting a roof on fire department. The last thing that I want to say was today, I'm almost done. Just give me more seconds. Give me 30 seconds.
I said I was almost done. Give me 30 more seconds. And she said, nope, time's up.
I'm going to speak for 30 seconds later. Okay, I'm going to speak for 30 seconds later. Okay, that's fine. Say it again. So the mayor of Muncie said today that he stated that there was the law student in Muncie appraised for $7.3 billion. What I would like you guys to consider is the fact that we're wanting to buy this one fire station. We're wanting to build this one fire station for $7.9 million. Bro, you can roll your eyes and have that smart ass look. Okay, but you understand what does it matter if the citizens not showing any respect? No, they're not, because you're not showing any respect. You show respect, bro. No, don't strike me. That's what?
Well, I mean, your time is up. You are talking and you are not allowed to be talking. And you're still standing.
Bro, the First Amendment right.
I mean,
you forget that, man?
No, you are welcome to spoke. There's a time limit, just like everybody else. I appreciate it. Follow the rules. And
this council has never, since this council was seated, you got roll your eyes. Is that what we do on this live stream?
Your time's up. I can't be straight. I mean, we don't answer. So we just let the public come say what they want to say, like you said.
But then you shut me off 30 seconds from the end. It sure was. The fact that this council, this committee can't let someone speak over 30 seconds like has been a normal behavior of this council is ridiculous. Again, disappointing yourself. What a fucking joke.
Next, please.
Roe told the lady working the taking the minutes to strike anything I said after 2 minutes. She said, don't put anything he said in after 2 minutes in the in the minutes. And I was like, no, don't strike anything that I said. That's ridiculous. So the sound was horrible. I did not know the sound was that horrible. I don't know why the sound was that horrible. That's the worst the sound has ever been. I don't know why the sound was that bad. That is this. I mean, I feel horrible. I mean, I don't know. Like, I literally thought I went home and done something. Going home to get the camera and taking it back there, I literally thought that I was able to give the citizens something. And the fact... that's a very good point. I don't know if she did or not. I don't know. I am so disgusted. But that... I don't know. All right, I'm going to end on this, folks. This is the last thing I want to talk about. Dan Ridenour, he put out this just absolutely asinine statement today. Here it is. It does appear to be viewpoint discrimination, does it not? I was shocked. She was rolling her eyes and smirking and laughing, and I mean, it was ridiculous. She has no business holding the mallet, holding the gavel, and holding meeting. That blew me away. I hate Roger Overby, what they ended up doing at the end of that meeting was saying that they had more questions than they had answers, and they need to call another meeting. So basically, the good thing about this is this meeting was for nothing, and they will hold another meeting. So that's the one oversight we had. And to his credit, Roger Overby said that he was very disappointed that it wasn't live streaming, that it should have been live streaming. He thought that it would be live streaming and that was not his doing. So I was so happy to hear him say that, and he handled that appropriately. And he was there. He asked good questions. He asked questions favorable. He asked questions against. He asked questions all over the place. And at the end of the day, he said, we have more questions than we have answers. So they are going to hold another meeting, and that's what needs to happen. Hopefully, Roger Overby said we needed another meeting, and Roe then agreed with him because they were going to be a 1-to-1 vote since Aaron Clark wasn't there for whatever reason. So it ended up being a 1-to-1 vote, so it wasn't going to be favorable. It wasn't going to be against, and Roe said that she would agree to whatever Roger said, and Roger said we need another meeting, so they agreed to that. All right, on to this last thing. I know it's hard for you to see, but here's the post. Dan Ridenour says, the White River Lofts began construction in 2020 and opened in 2021. They are market-priced apartments with 55 units along the river downtown. The lofts have been 100% leased since completion, which indicates that there is more demand than supply downtown. The White River Lofts is now assessed at $7.3 million and paying property taxes. In 2020, it was assessed for only $418,500. He then goes on to say this: my experience again delivers a long-term strategic approach to create a big win of roughly $766,110 in the next 10 years on this company for property tax alone. Used a similar approach on the Gilman site to provide decades of results. I ask for your vote on November 7th to keep up this momentum going. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's just not true at all. And I called him out. I said, this is absolute nonsense. I've never quite understood Dan doing this. Do you plan on fixing this? And then I shared the article from the Star Press that says, White River Lofts has official groundbreaking in downtown Muncie by Corey Olenkamp. Approximately $9 million investment in the lofts alone will be paired with a city-funded $1.5 million river walk. The project was started and saw a majority of the development work done under former Mayor Dennis Tyler. I don't understand this. Then one of the Dan fans said, some people just want to complain. To which I said, who's complaining? I just like the truth. And then she, along with a couple more people, decided that they would do the laugh emoji. And I said, I mean, yes, I get it. It's funny. But so are you claiming that Mr. Olenkamp's article is wrong? Was Dan the mayor prior to 2020 that did most of the work and development for these projects? If so, I want the Star Press to correct this article, and I want to correct the record. And of course, no one commented back on that. Audie Barber also commented flat out calling the mayor a liar. Audie Barber says, But these were started under the Tyler administration and assessed for $400,000 and $220 because they were not completed yet. Come on, stop taking credit for past administration. Audie said, all lies, Dan Ridenour. Mary King said, what happened to the Southway Plaza? Looks like it was started and never finished. Frank Russell said, now see, this assessed for $7.3 million with 55 apartments. Yet it cost almost $8 million to build a single 3-bay fire station. I don't get it at all. Yet nobody wants to answer that. Rose Selvey says, I love living at the Lofts. Made great friends and met many more international people. See, this is the problem, Elizabeth Edgell says, with this administration. Taking credit for things you didn't do is a character flaw. Not having accountability for things you did do is another. The fact that you do both as an elected official is just disappointing, as your last election performance was. Damn it, Dan, we can't afford 4 more years. And of course, we get Bruce Coles smiling and laughing. I mean, these people are gross and stupid. Gross and stupid. That's what I don't understand. No one wants to answer to this issue where it says the project was started under Mayor Dennis Tyler. I mean, is no one... I don't care. Listen, Dan Ridenour, you, sir, are a liar. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for this evening. We had a lot to talk about. I'm going to cover some more stuff on recap tomorrow just to make sure we get through it. We've got a lot of busy work to get through in the next several days. It's going to be crazy. I'm going to try to make stuff under 2 hours. I'm so sorry for this. This has been a crazy, crazy, crazy day. I'm going to try to make some snippet pieces so people can easily or share them around. Please, please, please do me a favor. Share the show with everyone you know. Specifically, share this around to people in Muncie, Newcastle, and Winchester. I'm going to put timestamps in it so people will be able to find the Winchester section, people will be able to find the Niles section, people will be able to find the Newcastle and the Muncie section. Please share this so this can get around because people need to be able to hear all of this. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all very, very, very much. And very good, Joey. Yeah, thank you very much for going back and watching that section. You guys, thank you for everything. God bless each and every one of you. And I want to say a big, 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 big thank you to Niles for coming on the show tonight. Niles is awesome. Please, for the people in Winchester, vote for Niles. And always, as always, a very, very, very big thank you to producer Kate for making this shit run. Ladies and gentlemen, take care. God bless. Have a good night. Goodbye.